UFC 294, DraftKings plays, picks, strategy, everything you need to dominate the slate. Let's make some money this week. We will start with value plays. These are plays at 8,000 and below, underdogs that you're going to need to make your lineup work. And here's the beauty of it this week. The amount of scoffing at any and all underdog picks this week is making it a very interesting slate because the chalk donkeys are out. And I get it. On paper, this looks like a card where the favorites are going to dominate, but you're going to need to get uncomfortable this week on DraftKings. And I have a few ways for us to do that. Let's look. There are so many that we need to touch on this week. I'll start with Muhammad Yahya at 8,000. I don't love it, but based on the way that Trevor Peek fights, everybody has a chance. Trevor Peek overswings, Trevor Peek leaves a lot of openings, Trevor Peek is sucking wind after the first few minutes. And because of that fighting style, anybody that's going to be an underdog against him is live, making Muhammad Yahya one of the more live underdogs on the card. Now, if you watch the predictions video, you know how I feel about this fight already. I actually think that Trevor Peek is going to win. And if you haven't watched the predictions video, go back and watch it. It will be linked in the description. But from a DraftKings perspective, you can't ignore the upside from Muhammad Yahya. And I do think that this is the fight that you need to target, right in the middle of that salary range on a card where a lot of favorites are going to win. You need to get this one right, especially if you're playing single entry or anything like that. Now, if you have multiple entries, what you should be doing is allocating some to Trevor Peek, some to Muhammad Yahya, but you should have 100% exposure to this fight. Now, if you want to go 50% Peek, 50% Yahya, if you want a 60-40, 70-30 split, however you want to do it, it's fine. It should equal 100. And if you want to generate multiple lineups and set these kinds of rules and give yourself an edge on the competition, you can use the lineup optimizer that is embedded in the site on kunithmma.com, available to all of the site members for the next week. I'm really excited about this. The optimizer is not only for the full slate, but it's also for captain mode, so you can put all the tools in your little tool bag. Your utility belt's going to be making your pants fall down with all the tools you got. And you can set rules to make sure that you don't have fighters fighting each other in your same lineup. You can set maximum exposure, randomness. You can plug in your own projections, or you can use the projections that I put in there myself. There's a lot going on there, but that is one of the many features, as well as the betting article, DFS strategy guide, raw projections model, all of that. Visit kunithmma.com or scan the QR code that you can find right here. But that's all. I won't be shill Clinton anymore. We'll get to the next value play. And I love this matchup for him, not because I'm low on Shara. I expect Shara to win, but I do think that Bruno Silva is very live against most guys, especially a guy who's going to stand there and strike with him for what could be 15 minutes, but I highly doubt it. In fights that he's winning in the UFC, he's scored 109, 102 points, and the 79-point score when he got a third round knockout, come from behind, come back from the dead type of performance against Andrew Sanchez. He was absolutely gassed. He was forced to wrestle a lot, but he stayed dangerous the later that the fight went, and that's something that we love to see. Blindado is somebody who's always going to be a value play if we're getting him at dog money. He has to be. And that fight specifically is a tough one because this is the same man that went the distance with Alex Pereira standing right in front of him. So you worry that what if Shara doesn't put him away? What if he doesn't shoot any takedowns? What if neither guy shoots any takedowns, which is probably the case here? This could be a situation where it goes the distance, it's striking only, the winner doesn't score that many points, and it goes over owned. I don't look at this the same way I look at the Peek and Yahya fight. I don't think you absolutely need the winner of this in your lineup, but I wouldn't be shocked given where the pricing falls. The next value play has to be Alexander Volkanovski. He gave Islam Makhachev everything he could handle last time out. Now he's getting the rematch. Do I love that it's on 12 days notice? Absolutely not. I think that Islam Makhachev would do a better job of making adjustments than Alexander Volkanovski would, and this is a spot where Islam Makhachev is getting this rematch in the best case scenario. He's going to have all the support in the building. He's on a full camp. He was already fighting here, and he's the champion who's already got one on the guy. But what's interesting is if you end up getting Alexander Volkanovski in your lineup with Islam Makhachev, if he scores 62 points, that's like him winning a low-scoring decision. 62 points in a loss for somebody who you know probably doesn't get finished, has 5 rounds to work, is going to be fighting for every minute of this fight with everything that he's got. He could be on the optimal lineup in a loss. So I really like Alexander Volkanovski to be plugged into your lineups this week, even in tournaments, and we'll talk more about that as we're building lineups later in the video. And before we get to the next value play, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment something for the algorithm. You know how the algorithm works. Tell me who the best underdog on DraftKings is this week. I'd love to know. Now our next value play is Kamaru Dean himself. Listen, Khamzat Chimaev is him. He's undefeated for a reason. He could fight for the title tomorrow and I wouldn't be upset about it. But he's also an emotional guy. He's also a very certain guy, a very confident guy who's going to come in here and try to blow the doors off of an all-time great in Kamaru Usman. He might gas. I'm saying that he might. I'm not saying that he will. I'm saying that he might. And you got to go way back, almost 6 years, to find the last time that Kamaru Usman had a fight that was scheduled for 3 rounds. The cardio from Kamaru Usman is elite. Not only that, but you look at the scores that he's put up in the process. 69 last time out in a decision loss. Before that, he lost 98 DraftKings points. I know it's 5 rounds, but 98 points in a loss is serious. 113, 104, 104, 156, 130, 168, almost 200 DraftKings points. He's scoring because he has great output and he's taking everybody down. The output, I think he has the advantage of in this fight if it gets extended beyond round 1. When it comes to the wrestling, we haven't seen somebody consistently be able to take down Kamaru Usman. Colby Covington got very close. We saw Leon Edwards get him down once. Outside of that, he's never been taken down. And somebody made a really good point in the comment section of the last video when they were talking about Kevin Holland and Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev was putting everything into those wrestling exchanges in the beginning, and Kevin Holland was Granby rolling. He was making him work. He was sucking wind after those first few minutes against Kevin Holland, and if he's in the same spot against Kamaru Usman, I guarantee you Kamaru Usman takes over in the 2nd and 3rd round. I'm not saying I guarantee a win for Usman. I am picking him to win. I do like the upset here, and anybody at plus money who's winning this week, because it's probably not going to be a ton, should show up on the optimal lineup when it comes to DraftKings. So give me the Nigerian Nightmare as one of the value plays of the week. And the last value play of the week for me is Johnny Walker. The thing about Johnny Walker is that every fight is a winnable fight for him. He's got the size, the speed, the athleticism, the power, the know-how as well. I mean, he's not a slouch when it comes to technique. And recently he's looked more complete. He's looked more mature in there. And you got to think, if he comes at his very best, I think Johnny Walker at the top of his potential, at the very ceiling, is better than Magomed Ankalaev at his ceiling because of the physical attributes and everything else. I feel Magomed Ankalaev does a better job of managing the fight and Johnny Walker does a better job of stopping the fight. And for that reason, he is one of my favorite value plays of the week. You got to go with the upside. So while we don't have a ton of them this week, these are the 5 players that I would consider putting in my lineup. And again, if you're building multiple, you want to go use the optimizer on the site, you're more than welcome to. You could play with the settings, play with the rules, play with the amounts that you're making. There's a lot that you could do with it. And I think this is the pool of underdogs that is going to make it this week. Now we can build some lineups using some of these value plays. We'll start with cash games, and these are your 50-50s, your head-to-heads, your double-ups. Very important for you to be playing your cash games really in any type of DFS, but I think MMA DFS more than any other sport. And I say that because a lot of it just comes down to technique. Your cash game lineups are going to look largely the same in terms of theory every week, and this week is no different. It's very simple for us to click Islam Makhachev at 8,700, go and get the other side of the matchup in Alexander Volkanovski. There's not 2 title fights here. There's 1 title fight, 1 5-rounder that probably goes the distance. I like this spot. As always, we have 8,450 left over because when you add fighters that are fighting against each other, it's going to come out to 16,200 salary, leaving us with just shy of 34,000. So what I like to do at this point is grab another punt play. Now, Johnny Walker was the cheapest of the value plays that we were looking at before, but I think we can get a better deal and save some salary in the process. Victor Henry is coming with a lot of volume. Now, if he puts up a performance like he did when he was a $9,300 fighter on DraftKings when he fought Rafael Sunsao and put up 23 DraftKings points, in the fight log, that doesn't look great, but at the same time, at 6,800 on this card, it could be enough. Javid Basharat hasn't recorded a finish in the UFC yet. Could that change this week? Of course, but Victor Henry is a tough dude. When he's at range, he's going to be winning the volume battle, and I do like him here as your punt play at 6,800. 9,000 left over to spend, and you can grab anybody up here because, again, you probably feel really good about a lot of these favorites. I like Saeed Nurmagomedov quite a bit. I like Nathaniel Wood to win, especially with his wrestling. Now you have 9,200 left over. You can go grab Dudakova. I'm cool with that. This is the strategy. This is the recipe. Go into DraftKings. Go to the head-to-heads. Face people for $1, $2, $10, $50, $100. Use that same lineup. You're building it correctly. You're banking on the other person not building their lineup correctly, trying to get 5 winners in their lineup when you really only need 4. This is very safe floor. I like this. You've used all the salary. Use this one. Tell me what happened. Now for your tournaments, the juicy stuff, where all the money is, what do we do? So when it comes to your tournaments, I expect a lot of people to do the following. I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to be uber popular. I see the same thing happening with Islam Makhachev. Depending on the types of contests that you're in, if you're in single entry, you might see a lot of people playing Shara Magomedov, but if you're in really big field stuff or really low dollar amount stuff, he might not be that popular. 7,900 left over. You're going to have to get get some kind of underdog in there. I think Naimov is going to be an underdog that people look to because of what he did last time out against Jamie Malarkey, but I'm not buying it. With 8,300 left over, most people are going to come right here to play Trevor Peek at 8,200. Now you can get Dumas. You're not going to play Yaya since you have Peek in your lineup already. You might play Azaitar thinking that Dumas is trash. A lot of people do not like SD Dumas. Now if you're here, if you are 5 fighters deep in your lineup and you have 8,400 left over, what makes the most sense is for you to play somebody like Dumas, Azaitar. You could come down here to play Johnny Walker, leaving 1,300 salary on the table. Absolutely nobody's going to do that. And you can really try to grab anybody else to give yourself the chance of having 6 winners in your lineup. When you're playing in tournaments, you want to get 6 winners as best as you can, but if you truly believe in your heart of hearts, in the heart of the cards, if you think that all of the favorites are going to win, then you might want to stack in tournaments, which is not something that we typically do, not something we typically recommend, but you could get away with it this week. So let's say you did roster the main event, both sides of it. You've got Makhachev 8,700. We come down here, we get Volkanovski at 7,500. Same spot we were in when it comes to the cash game. The difference here, however, is that we're not going to build it the same way. We're not going to come down here and grab a punt play. At this point, we might just stay above and grab favorites for the rest. This is, again, a lineup that you're going to build if you think that the favorites are going to dominate. At this point, you would go Yaya. I know he's not a favorite, but just follow me. At this point, to stack as many favorites in your favor as you can, you would go and you would grab Dumas, you would grab Magomedov, you would grab Nurmagomedov. You've left no salary on the table. You've played 2 underdogs, but you've got a stack, and that is not something that is common in tournaments, especially smaller field stuff. Another thing you can do, if you look back at the last fight with Makhachev and Volkanovski, Makhachev didn't break 100 DraftKings points at 9,500 salary. It was not optimal that night. So what you could do is grab somebody else who you think could score more points. Since you don't have anybody else, you would come down here and grab somebody like Kamaru, Usman. This is the interesting part about this slate. Nobody is going to want to leave a lot of salary on the table, but if you are leaving over 500 salary on the table this week, you are massively different, and that's probably what's going to end up winning the big contest. Now let's build some more lineups with some of our value plays from before. Let's go get the Whiskey down here at 7,100. Let's go grab Kamaru Dean at 7,300, 8,900 left over to spend. I'm grabbing me some T Peak. I'm grabbing some SD Dumas, 9,500 left over. The world is my oyster. I can do whatever I want. Jubilee, no one's playing him. I can come up here to Aliskerov. Let's get it. I'm cool with this. Another guy I'm cool with is building a lineup around Nathaniel Wood. You come here, you look at Nathaniel Wood, and you see 87, 77, 90. I don't know. That's exactly what most people are going to think. I think that Nathaniel Wood is more of the 108, 127, 101 type of fighter this week, given the matchup. Naimov struggles with takedown defense, and Nathaniel Wood is quite the takedown artist. So if you put Nathaniel Wood in there at 9,000, I like him this week. I'm going to go with Jubilee as well at 9,300. Dudakova at 9,400. What I'm doing here is just attacking grappling upside because, as we know, I feel like a teacher in a little kid's classroom. Say it with me now. Grappling is the most heavily rewarded type of fighting style when it comes to DraftKings scoring. We know this. So we attack 3 expensive fighters that are probably going to go under-owned, with Mokaev there, with Aliskerov there, Ankalaev, Chimaev. You got a lot of Evs and Alves in there, and you can instead go Wood, Jubilee, and Dudakova and be really different. You're dialing up a screwball. You come down here, you grab Johnny Walker at 7,100, grab Alexander the Great at 7,500, 7,900 left over. This is where we probably go Bruno Silva. You want to tweak this a little bit? Sure, why not? Kamaru Dean, where you at, brother? Right here. Muhammad Yahya, because again, you probably want some of that fight. You left 100 salary on the table, but you've gotten different up top. There's a couple of ways that you can get different. You can avoid the Evs and Ovs and Oovs and whatever it is up here, or you can leave a lot of salary on the table. A couple of ways for you to approach this, and that's what makes this slate so much fun. Now, to get the full leg up on the competition, go to kunithmma.com, grab yourself a membership, grab that DraftKings strategy guide, crack it open like your grandfather reading newspaper years ago, and dial up that lineup that's going to win you all the money this week. Why? Because I believe in you this week. And isn't that all we ever want? All we ever need is somebody to believe in us. You know what else you should believe in? You should believe in getting free money, and you can get that with Underdog Fantasy using promo code Kunith, Kunath, or hitting the link that's going to be in the description and in a pinned comment. They will match your first deposit up to $100. They are running promotions like this every single week. It's free money, and then you can come over to the side, you can drop down to MMA, and we could take a look here at some of the fights, or rather props for the fighters, and you could build out a whole slip if you want. One of my absolute favorite entries on Underdog this week is going to be Mokaev, 3 takedowns higher. He's going to get a takedown at least once in every round, and then he's probably going to get another one because Tim Elliott's going to move, he's going to squirm, he's going to be slippery, he's going to make him work. You could put a $10 slip on this and get $30 like that, ATM kind of stuff. Now let's take the promotion out with Lamar Jackson and build out a slip, a full slip, 5-pick slip. I like the lower in the Anshul Jubli fight to finish basically inside of 2 rounds and some change. Victoria Dudakova, I actually like her to get over 35.5 significant strikes. I like Nathaniel Wood to get over 93.5 significant strikes, and I'm only going over here for the most part, except when it comes to fight time. And then lower, see another example of fight time, lower for Trevor Peek. You can get that first deposit match up to $100 using promo code Kunith. Underdog Fantasy, great place to play. You probably see it everywhere. Why do you see it everywhere? Because the app is good. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share with somebody who's going to be watching the fights this week. Check out KunithMMA.com. Check out Underdog Fantasy. Best of luck. Let's make some money this week.